I'm just starting World of Warcraft again. I'm trying to figure shit out. So I installed a lot of add-ons. Yeah, you see here. Tidy plates. I might get rid of those though. Only CSA move anything, bartender, bag none, bag brother. I tried to set up my UI. So how do I move that? The quest tracker. Objective windows. Mover. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I'm gonna put it yet. But I guess her is good for now. Oh, okay. Oh, I can scale it? That's epic. Okay. There we go. Oh, someone hit me in the head with some shit. Echo of light. Oh. Work. Speak with Marad in the Blasted Lands. Okay, I guess I'll speak to Marad in the Blasted Lands. My skills are not set up the way I want them, so don't take this as like some kind of template or something. I'm just, I don't know. Oh, okay, you need that one too. Ah, my head is hurting! Ah! Oh! Oh, snap. Just listen to this while I fix some stuffs.
From time to time, I get the question if I have like a video covering the lore start to finish for someone who's completely new to WoW. I usually pick a character and tell the story from their point of view, but I figured it could be handy to give you a summarized version of what exactly happened in the history of Warcraft. As you can imagine, Warcraft has a bunch of lore, so I won't be able to cover all the little details, but I am going to do my best to let you know the global story. In this video, I'll place little links and annotations to videos if you want to go into more details. Videos that I've already done over the years. In the description I'll link my full playlist in chronological order if you want more details. With that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy the full story of Warcraft. The origin of the Warcraft universe is unclear. Some say that it was created by a single entity, while others claim that a catastrophic cosmic explosion sent the infinite world spinning out into the vastness of the Great Dark. What we do know is that out of creation, a race of titans emerged. Their mission was to bring order to the universe, and their leaders are called the Pantheon. The champion of the Pantheon, Sargeras, battled against the chaos of the universe, imprisoning those who fought against their mission, against their order. Over time, Sargeras saw so much evil, saw how the universe was resisting them, that he began to doubt about their mission. If order was the way to go, then why was the universe putting up such a fight? So he tried to talk about his doubts with the rest of the Pantheon, but they couldn't help him. Slowly but surely, the corruption and doubt took hold over Sargeras, transforming him into a fiery, gigantic being of chaos. He then left the Pantheon behind, he liberated the evil that he had imprisoned over millennia, and he created the Burning Legion. Their purpose was to work against the Titans, to destroy the order they were trying to create, conquer the universe, and bring chaos. Unaware of Sargeras' mission to undo their work, the Titans continued to move from planet to planet, shaping and ordering each of them as they saw fit. Eventually, they reached the planet that we now call Azeroth, and they found that the planet was in pure chaos. The elements were fighting each other, but they weren't fighting willingly. They were enslaved by dark and powerful entities known as the Old Gods, beings who thrive and feed on chaos. The Pantheon and their creations, they battled with the Old Gods and the Elemental Lords. And although the Elemental Lords and Old Gods were extremely powerful, the Titans eventually won. They banished the Elemental Lords to the Elemental Plane, where they were free to fight with each other without causing any harm to the world. They then imprisoned the Old Gods far beneath the world of Azeroth, and after that, they started to shape the land and bring order. They didn't do this just by themselves though. They created several beings to help them with this task, and amongst them were the Giants, Irvan, and several other creatures. With their mission complete, the Titans called the land Kalimdor and they left the world behind. Life had a chance to grow and evolve now, and this planet would be the staging area for most of the Warcraft lore. Around 10,000 years ago, the Highborn were dabbling with magics beyond their understanding. Their power was given to them by the Well of Eternity, and were uncertain if the Titans left this well behind, or if it just popped up when Azeroth itself was born. Either way, this dabbling with magic drew the attention of Sargeras and the Burning Legion. A great war, known as the War of the Ancients, broke out, in which Night Elves, Tauren, Irvan, Furbolgs, demigods, dragons, and even time travelers teamed up to take on Sargeras, the Legion, and the Highborn. In the end, the Night Elves' resistance won the battle, but it came with a great cost. The Well of Eternity had to be destroyed, since Sargeras was using this pool of power to bring himself to Azeroth. But by destroying it, the well imploded on itself. This caused the land of Kalimdor to shatter and create the continents that we know today. The Legion had its first bite of Azeroth though, and it was not defeated. We only managed to push them back. They did figure out that simply attacking Azeroth would result in failure, so a bigger plan was required. This plan began several thousand years ago with Sargeras finding a planet called Argus. On Argus lived a race known as the Eredar, and they had 3 leaders: Archimonde, Kil'jaeden, and Velen. Sargeras realized that this race was powerful on its own, and he wanted them to join his legion. In a vision, he showed them a glorious future in which they would have loving subjects, knowledge beyond worlds, and limitless power. Kil'jaeden and Archimonde, they were directly on board with this plan, but Velen wasn't sure. He meditated on what Sargeras had shown them, and the Naru-Kur, with the help of the Atamal crystal, made contact with Velen. He told Velen to gather his people and get off the planet, since Sargeras was deceiving them, and teaming up with him would mean the end of the universe. Velen did as he was told. He gathered those willing to follow him, and they evacuate the planet in a ship brought by the Naru. Kil'jaeden wasn't happy about this, and he took this betrayal very personal, and he swore that he would find Velen and his people, even if it took him 1,000 years. From that moment on, the chase was on. Velen and his people would settle down on a planet, Kil'jaeden would find them again, and send the Legion after them. Each time, Velen would be warned, and each time they would escape the planets before any harm came to them, until the Naru named Kur fell ill and had to make a crash landing on a planet they would name Draenor. Draenor was not an empty planet. There were already several species living there, and amongst them were the Orcs. For centuries, the Draenei and Orcs lived in relative peace with each other. They occasionally traded goods, but for most of the time they just stayed to themselves. All seemed well for the time, until Kil'jaeden found Velen and his people again. This time he decided that sending the Legion would just give the same results. He didn't know that the Draenei were unable to escape, so he came up with a plan. Instead of using his legion, he decided to manipulate and corrupt the Orcs and make them do his dirty work. He planted the seed of fear and doubt in their minds, convinced them that the Draenei were evil, and he gave them the tools and power to exterminate the Draenei. The elements of Draenor, the ones who used to work together with the shamans of the orcs, they refused to aid them in the battle against the Draenei, since the Draenei were not really the bad guys. To compensate for this loss, Kil'jaeden gifted the orcs with fell magic, turning them into warlocks. Eventually, the orcs they reached the point where there was only one major battle left to fight, the battle at Siofra. To give them the final boost in power that they required, the Pit Lord Manoroth was sent by Kil'jaeden to offer his blood. This blood did indeed give the orcs incredible powers, but it also made them slaves to the Burning Legion. Most of the orcs didn't know this, of course. They thought it was an honorable gift and they drank it willingly. Now mad with demon blood pumping in their veins, they assaulted Siofra City and they slaughtered any man, woman and child that they could find. Kil'jaeden together with Manoroth, they watched this slaughter and they figured that their mission was complete. That Velen was destroyed, so Kil'jaeden left the orcs to their fate. Unknown to them was that Velen and several of his people, they had actually managed to escape the city before the battle and they were hiding in Zangarmarsh. It grieved Velen deeply to send so many of his people to their deaths, but the Naaru assured him that this was for the greater good. That one day all of his suffering would come to an end and that he was needed for a greater purpose. With the Draenei defeated and Kil'jaeden leaving them all behind, the orcs were in a bit of trouble. Most of their land was corrupted and the demon blood caused them to go crazy and turn on each other. Something had to be done quick before they would exterminate themselves, and thankfully for the orcs, Sargeras had need of them. Sargeras in the meantime had managed to infiltrate the body of the Guardian Medivh, and the Guardian was charged with protecting Azeroth against the Legion and any major threats. He made contact with the orcish leader Gul'dan and he told him about Azeroth itself. A planet full of life, water and plenty of enemies to put up resistance to give the orcs a good fight. Remember that Sargeras wants nothing more than to conquer Azeroth, and this plan was a great one. Even if the orcs were defeated, the planet itself would be weakened and it would be that much easier for the Legion to take. Together with Gul'dan, they created the Dark Portal and they began the first orcish horde invasion. The real Medivh was still inside his body, and he manipulated events so that when the moment would arrive, people around him would be able to take him out. This happened exactly as he planned it. Sargeras tried to completely take over his body, but they chopped off his head before he was able to. The orcs' invasion was still on its way though, and Stormwind did its very best to hold against the might of the Horde, and they even did a pretty good job for a while until the King of Stormwind was assassinated. The troops were unable to hold the city. Stormwind fell and its citizens evacuated across the sea to the kingdom of Lordaeron, ending the first war and flowing into the second war. The Horde's invasion was relentless, and they followed to Lordaeron after building ships of their own. This gave the humans some time to form an alliance, which in the end mainly consisted of humans, dwarves, high elves and gnomes. They battled for the fate of Azeroth, and although the Horde managed to take nearly everything, they nearly won the war. Eventually they were forced to retreat all the way back to Blackrock Mountain, where the final battle took place. Not even there was the Horde able to stand against the alliance. Some surrendered, some escaped, and some were forced back through the Dark Portal, and the Alliance destroyed it. Destroying the Dark Portal did not break its connection though. That connection was now so strong that Draenor and Azeroth would forever be linked with each other. The Alliance realized this, so while they were rebuilding Stormwind, they also built the Nethergarde Keep to keep an eye on the portal in case the Horde would ever return. They didn't exactly know what to do with the orcs who surrendered. They couldn't just send them home since the portal was destroyed. They couldn't just execute them since that was a little bit barbaric. And allowing the orcs to go into their society was just out of the question. In the end, they decided to put the orcs in internment camps and put them to hard labor. Now the Horde might have failed their initial invasion, but they now knew that there were more planets out there. Perhaps other planets in the universe might not put up so much resistance. So the Horde, they rebuilt their portal, they reconnected it, and they started their second invasion to collect several artifacts and use those to create more portals to different worlds. The Alliance was still together, despite the scars that are always left behind after the war, and because of Nethergarde Keep, they now knew about the invasion far before it got out of hand. The Horde managed to collect the artifacts though. They even teamed up with the Black Dragonflights, and they quickly made their way back to Draenor. The Alliance found out what their major plan was, that they wanted to invade several planets, and they couldn't let the Horde go. They knew what kind of devastation they caused to Azeroth, and they could not allow the Horde to inflict the same pain to different planets. They followed the horde through the portal. They tried to stop Ner'zhul, the Orcish leader, from creating more portals, but they didn't reach him in time. The portals were created, and not just one portal to a new planet. All over Draenor, portals popped up, and this caused the planet to become incredibly unstable. In the end, the Alliance had to close the dark portal from Draenor's side to prevent the explosion from spreading into Azeroth. The Alliance expedition then hid away in one of the open portals as Draenor exploded all around them, transforming itself into the planet we now call Outlands. The people on Azeroth, they assumed that these Alliance heroes were all dead, but they survived and they made sure that the Orcish threat was kept in check. The idea behind the Orcish internment camps was that it would be a humane alternative to execution. But more often than not, they were horrible places and the orcs were treated miserably. The camp known as Durnholt was led by Aedalis Blackmore, and Blackmore had found a young baby orc he named Thrall, which means slave. Thrall's parents had refused to drink from the demon blood on Draenor, and they had told Orgrimmar Doomhammer about Gul'dan's betrayal, and for this, Gul'dan's assassins took him out. They left their son to die to the wild, but fate had different plans for Thrall, and he was taken by Blackmore. Blackmore envisioned Thrall leading the captured orcs for him against the Alliance, so he could rule the world, and that's why he had Thrall trained in the arts of combat, but also taught him how to read, tactics, basically turned him into the perfect leader. Blackmore was also a nasty drunk, and he mistreated Thrall so much that one day Thrall decided that enough was enough. Together with the help of his friend Zarifa, he escaped Durnholt and he found his people who had been able to stay out of the hands of the Alliance. He met with Gromash Hellscream of the Warsong clan. He met with Drekvar and the Frostwolf clan, the clan of his parents. He met Orgrimmar Doomhammer, former warchief of the Horde, and together they liberated their brothers and sisters from their internment camps. Thrall was even able to take out Blackmore and bring Durnholt to the ground, but Thrall had learned mercy and he learned that not all people were as vile and evil as Blackmore was. That's why he allowed those who surrendered to step away and he reformed a horde that caused so much devastation to the land of Azeroth. Only this time it would be more of an honorable horde, one not aimed at conquering and domination, but one aimed at trying to forge a peace with the people of Azeroth. One who would try to claim a piece of land for their own and call it home. Sargeras had not forgotten about Azeroth though, and his left-hand man Kil'jaeden had managed to capture the orc Ner'zhul as he stepped through the portal that he had made on Draenor. Ner'zhul had betrayed Kil'jaeden in the past, so Kil'jaeden tortured his soul for a while until he came up with a new plan and purpose for his orc. He transformed Ner'zhul's soul into the Lich King, and he sent him down to Azeroth to weaken it and make it ready for a new invasion. This led into the events from Warcraft 3, and these events play a major role for the rest of the lore in World of Warcraft. First, Ner'zhul conquered Northrend and he searched for allies. He found the wizard Kel'Thuzad, whose power and position allowed him to spread the plague across Lordaeron and turned its citizens into the undead. Prince Arthas of Lordaeron was sent by his father to investigate the plague, and together with Jaina Proudmoore, he found out what was going on, and his devotion to keep his people safe led him to the cold heart of Northrend, where he eventually found the blade Frostmourne. This weapon allowed him to take out Dreadlord Mal'Ganis, but it also sold his soul to Ner'zhul.
I'm sorry, Arthas. I can't watch you do this.
Jaina didn't follow Arthas to Northrend. She thought that what he was doing was not the right way and that he was going too far. After Arthas purged Strathhole, she received a visit from the prophet Medivh. Medivh was resurrected by his mother and on a mission to stop the Legion invasion and fix the mistakes he had made while under the influence of Sargeras. He told Jaina to take her people, the people of Lordaeron who were willing to follow her, and take them west to the ancient lands of Kalimdor. Medivh did the same with Thrall, and while traveling, Thrall met up with the troll Sen'jin and the Darkspear tribe. Sen'jin lost his life to Murlocs and a Naga, so his son Vol'jin took over and he allied himself with Thrall. They then met the Tauren led by the old bull Cairn, and after Thrall helped him out, Cairn joined the Horde in its mission. Eventually, Jaina, Cairn and Thrall, they found themselves in the presence of Medivh himself, and he explained to them what was going on. That the Legion was invading, that it was his fault that the orcs invaded Azeroth in the first place, and he told them that they should have to team up. You have to understand that this was unheard of. Humans and orcs working together was just unimaginable, but for the greater good, they did. In the meantime, Ner'zhul and his crew, they were working for the Legion, and Arthas was sent on the task of resurrecting Kel'Thuzad. For this, he would need a great fountain of power found in the High Elf Kingdom of Quel'The Lust. The High Elves tried to defend their lands, but they failed, and in the end, High Ranger Sylvanas Windrunner was turned into a banshee and forced to fight her own people.
Finish it. I deserve a clean death.
After all you've put me through, woman, the last thing I'll give you is the peace of death.
No, you wouldn't dare.
The Sunwell was corrupted by using it to resurrect Kel'Thuzad, and the High Elves were so addicted to this magical source of power that they now had to find a new source to cope with their addiction. Their prince, Kilfa Sunstrider, decided that they should now be called Blood Elves in honor of all those who had sacrificed themselves trying to defend their kingdom against Arthas and the Scourge. Kel'Thuzad, now reborn as a Lich, he used the Book of Medivh to summon Archimonde into Azeroth. Archimonde had been there during the War of the Ancients, so he knew about Azeroth's resistance and which forces he needed to take out, so he set his eyes on the World Tree Nordrassil and the Night Elves, those who had caused him so much trouble before. Archimonde had also brought the Pit Lord Mannoroth with him, and Mannoroth was put on the task of reawakening the Orcs' slavery to the Legion. He placed a pool full of demon blood near Ashenvale, which Gromhellscream found, and he orders his troops to take a drink. This boosted their power, and this allowed them to conquer the lands, but it also placed his people in the hands of Mannoroth once more.
No.
Thrall and Jaina, they found out about this. They managed to save Grom's soul from Mannoroth's influence, and in an heroic act, Grom sacrificed himself to take out Mannoroth and free the rest of his people once and for all.
I have freed myself. No, old friend. You freed us all.
As Archimonde made his way to Nordrassil and the Night Elves, he found Rwanda Whisperwind leading all of them. She managed to escape a direct confrontation. She woke up her mate Malfurion Stormrage and liberated her longtime friend Illidan Stormrage from his prison to fight against the Legion. Illidan was imprisoned by the Night Elves themselves for his crimes during the War of the Ancients, but for Rwanda, he was willing to fight the Legion. His twin brother Malfurion thought that this was a very bad idea, so Illidan left them and he fought his own war against the Legion. Eventually, Thrall, Jaina, Cairn and the Horde, they found the Night Elves led by Malfurion and Rwanda, and together they took on Archimonde. They actually managed to defeat this powerful being, but it came with a great price. The World Tree Nordrassil, the one thing that gave the Night Elves their immortality, it was blown up and destroyed. With enough time, the tree would heal though, but the immortality of the Night Elves was gone. A small price to pay for the survival of Azeroth, and with his mission complete, with the Legion invasion prevented, Medivh stepped away and took his place among the legends of the past.
I came back to ensure that there would be a future, to teach the world that it no longer needed guardians. The hope for future generations has always resided in mortal hands. And now that my task is done, I will take my place amongst the legends of the past.
Azeroth was not yet safe though. The Legion invasion was pretty much over by this time, but Ner'zhul the Lich King, Arthas and Kel'Thuzad were still out there. Ner'zhul had no intentions of staying under the control of Kil'jaeden, so he had Illidan manipulated to mess up the Legion's plans, and by extension breaking himself free. Kil'jaeden realized that Ner'zhul was becoming too much of a threat, so he himself made contact with Illidan. He told him to take out Ner'zhul, and as a reward Illidan to receive the power he desired. Illidan did his very best, but unfortunately he was unable to succeed in his mission. He even teamed up with Kilfa Sunstrider and Lady Vush, but his brother Malfurion prevented his first attempt of destroying Ner'zhul from a distance, since this would also have destroyed the land of Northrend itself. This attack did weaken Ner'zhul though. Sending Frostmourne to Arthas had created a crack in the ice which enveloped Ner'zhul, and this attack by Illidan made the crack even bigger. Ner'zhul's powers were rapidly pouring out of him, and he ordered Arthas to immediately come to Icecrown and murder him. Arthas was infused with the powers from Ner'zhul. He was a Death Knight now, and losing a portion of these powers meant realized that he was also losing control over the undead. The Banshee Sylvanas managed to regain control over herself, and she even regained her father. She was pissed off with Arthas about what he had done to her and her people, so she plotted her revenge. She shot Arthas with a poisonous arrow, which did not kill him, but it did stun him. An instant death was too good for this butcher. Sylvanas had other plans in mind for a slow and painful death. Before all of this could happen, she was discovered by Kel'Thuzad. He saved Arthas' life, and he forced Sylvanas to retreat. Sylvanas wasn't the only one who was able to break away from the Lich King command, and she swore that she would have her revenge. Those willing, those able to break free from their control, joined her and made her their queen, the Queen of the Forsaken. They took the capital city of Lordaeron, which once belonged to Arthas' father. They made it their home, while Arthas made his way to Northrend.
The frozen throne is mine, demon. Step aside. Leave this world and never return. If you, I have sworn to destroy it, Arthas. It must be done. Never.
Illidan was hot in pursuit of Arthas, and he almost succeeded in his mission, but in the end, Arthas defeated him in combat with his gun of ice cream. This meant that Arthas merged with Ner'zhul, becoming the Lich King himself, and he left Illidan in the snow to die. Illidan didn't die though. His allies, Lady Vashj and Kil'Thas, they picked him up and they dragged him back to Outland, where they prepared their forces for the inevitable war of Arthedain. This pretty much concludes the storyline of Warcraft 3, and in the end, Thrall and Jaina decided to build a new home for their people. Jaina built Fedamore, while Thrall built Orgrimmar, and they built these cities close to each other to try and keep the peace between human and orcs going. Old hatreds die hard though, and Jaina's father, Admiral Dalen Proudmoore, he showed up to teach his daughter how to handle orcs. He wanted to fight them, since he also fought with them in the First and Second War, and he didn't realize, he didn't understand that these orcs might be different. Jaina disagreed with her father. She had fought with Thrall and the orcs in the Torrent side by side against the Legion, so she knew that these orcs were different, and she stepped away from her father. She did nothing as the Horde retaliated against her father, and in the end, the peace between Jaina and Thrall would last for a long, long time. Sad to say, the same can't be said for the Alliance and the Horde as a whole, because this brings us to the World of Warcraft expansions.
4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again.
Like I said, old hatreds die hard. War has returned to the lands, and Alliance and Horde are at it again. They don't call it Warcraft for nothing, but the teams have changed a little. The Alliance of Lordaeron was the old name for the Alliance, and that one pretty much disappeared when the Dark Portal was closed to save Azeroth. The new Alliance consists of several races, with each having an individual leader. The humans, mainly from the rebuilt Stormwinds, were first led by Anduin, and later taken over by his father, Varian Grid. The dwarves from Ironforge, led by Magni Bronzebeard. The gnomes from Gnomeregan, led by Gelden Makator. And the Night Elves, led by Tyrande Whisperwind, while also having a little bit of a power struggle with Archdruid Phantom Stackdown. The Horde still has the Orcs, with the War Chief Thrall as leader of all the races in the Horde. But all the leaders do have a say in what the Horde does. The Torrents are still led by Cairn Bloodhook. The Darkspear Trolls still led by Vol'jin, and surprisingly, the Forsaken led by Sylvanas Windrunner. The Forsaken were in a bit of trouble when they took over Lordaeron, since the Alliance would never accept their former brothers and sisters living with them as the undead. Not after all the events with the Scourge and Arthas, they just saw them as themselves. Sylvanas had sent out several letters asking for aid, and a faction to team up with, and eventually Thrall allowed the Forsaken to join the Horde. He allowed them to join after Archdruid Hamul Runetotem convinced him, since Hamul believed that there was potential for redemption for the Forsaken. Those are the factions on both the Alliance and the Horde. Now the story during Classic World of Warcraft, it was all over the place. This was our first chance to see Warcraft in a much larger environment. It was no longer an RTS, now it's a full-fledged 3D world, but not much of a consistent story. Basically, it comes down to Horde and Alliance fighting each other over different pieces of land and for different reasons, while also making sure that the world itself isn't taken over by any bad guys. This is a theme that returns in every expansion, and for this one we took on Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Onyxia and Nefarian, both children of Deathwing, Kafun, one of the old gods, Hakar the Soulflayer, the blood god of the Gurubashi trolls, and finally Hel'Fuzad, who assaulted the world with a floating citadel known as During the Burning Crusade, the Dark Portals reopened by Doomlord Kasich, and we got a first look at the worlds known as Kandahar. The Draenei, led by Prophet Velen, the same Draenei who were nearly slaughtered by the First Horde, they made their way to Azeroth and joined the Alliance. The Blood Elves were being led by Lor'Vemar Thrawn, while their prince Kil'Thuz was hanging out in Outland with Illidan and Lady Vashj. The Blood Elves had lost nearly everything to Arthas and the Scourge, and they teamed up with the Horde. In Outland, we found out that Kil'Thuz had sent his forces, presumably in order of Illidan, and they attacked the Naaru Adal in Shafir. The Naaru are hell-bent on fighting the Legion. This is also part of the reason why they saved the Draenei so many years ago. So attacking them doesn't really make sense if you fear the wrath of Kil'jaeden. The lore in the Burning Crusade was also a little bit messed up. They started to pick up the game during Wrath of the Lich King, and in the end we took out Lady Vashj, we took out Illidan, and we even took out Kil'Thuz's Sunstrider. Kil'Thuz had switched sides and was no longer working for Illidan. Now he was working for Kil'jaeden and the Burning Legion itself. This was not what the rest of the Blood Elves wanted, so they turned against their own prince. Kil'Thuz and the Legion, they tried to bring Kil'jaeden into Azeroth, but we prevented it and we saved the world. As a bonus, Prophet Velen reignited the Sunwell by using the core of a fallen Naaru, giving the Blood Elves a chance at a better future, while also giving them back their source of power.
Salvation! It waits for us all.
Now going back to Outland gave the orcs a chance to see what happened to their planet, and Thrall found Garrosh Hellscream, son of Grom Hellscream, and he told him about how Grom sacrificed himself to liberate their people of their demonic enslavement. Garrosh decided to follow Thrall to Azeroth, but he couldn't understand why Thrall was trying to negotiate and be peaceful with the Alliance. In his eyes, they shouldn't beg or ask or negotiate. They should conquer like true orcs, like the original Horde. Garrosh still had a lot to learn, but Azeroth doesn't give time for peace. Arthas the Lich King woke up after years of meditating on his life, building up his forces, and it was time to conquer the world. His converted Death Knights were sent to assault Light's Helm Chapel and draw out the powerful paladin known as Tirion Forge. The plan worked perfectly. Tirion was brought out into the open, but Arthas' betrayal led to Tirion purifying the Ashbringer, and the Death Knights of the Ebonblade teaming up with either the Alliance or the Horde.
The Argent Crusade comes for you, Arthas!
Together, they marched onto Northrend and Icecrown itself, taking down any challenge placed before them by the Lich King. They even took on the Blue Dragon aspect Malygos, who had decided that mortals were abusing magic and were no longer allowed to have any of it. This started the Nexus War, in which we teamed up with the Red Dragonflight, and we took out one of the 5 dragon aspects. Meanwhile, the old god Yogg-Saron, he was trying to break out of his prison. We also took him out, but at the Wrathgate, tragedy struck.
What? Did you? We had forgotten. Did you think we had forgiven? Behold now the terrible vengeance of the Forsaken. Sylvanas. Death to the Scourge! And death to the living!
Sylvanas, in her quest for vengeance against the Lich King, had her people working on a plague that would eradicate both the living and the undead. She planned to use this against Arthas and his forces, but she was betrayed by her own people, who used it against the Alliance, the Horde and Arthas, and against anyone there at the Wrathgate. They then took the Undercity from Sylvanas, but Varian and Thrall, they went in, they took out those responsible, and they liberated the city. Sylvanas had her city back, so it was time to march upon Icecrown and take on the Lich King himself. Everything Arthas had worked for, testing the heroes, molding them into the ultimate champions, worked perfectly. In the end, he was able to instantly kill all of them, and he was about to convert them into his army, but Tirion and the Ashbringer shattered the blade bottom. Thousands of captured souls broke out of the blade, they held Arthas up into the air, while we finished the job. There must always be a Lich King though, to keep the Scourge in check. If not, the restless Scourge would just go out and destroy everything in their path. Tirion was about to place the helmet on his head, take that position as the Lich King, but Bolthar Fordragon stopped him. Bolvar, former hero of the Alliance who died at the War Gate, was resurrected by the dragons, and he stepped up and he placed the helmet on his head.
Tell them only that the Lich King is dead, and that Bolvar Dragon died with him. Now, go. Leave this place and never return.
The Black Dragon aspect Deathwing had been spending his time recovering from his wounds, and now the old god N'Zoth told him that the time had come. The time had come to shake the world and cause the cataclysm with the end goal of bringing about the Hour of Twilight. The Hour of Twilight is the moment in which the old gods break free out of their prisons and rule the world once more.
The whole of Azeroth will break. And all will burn beneath the shadow of my wings.
This cataclysm literally reshaped the world, and it broke down the big wall around Gilneas. The people of Gilneas, they were hit by a curse, which transformed them into Worgen, and after going through a ritual, they managed to regain their sanity while keeping their Worgen powers. Entering the Alliance wasn't that easy though, since Varian disliked the Gilneans. But after fighting Garrosh together, Varian decided to let them in, and he became the High King of the Alliance. The goblins of Kazan also felt the cataclysm, and their island was destroyed. Thankfully, they met with the orcs, they saved Thrall's life, and they teamed up with the Horde. Thrall felt like he should find out more about his shamanistic side in order to save the world from the cataclysm, so he left the Horde to travel to Outland, and he made Garrosh the Horde chief. In Outland, Thrall was told what his parents would have named him, namely Goel, and he found the love of his life, Agra. Together, they explored the world of shamanism, teamed up with the dragon aspect, helped Kalecgos become the new blue aspect, and they used a bunch of time travel to take out Deathwing. Both the Alliance and the Horde, they got the pleasure of following Thrall around for the entire expansion, and they helped him out with defeating Deathwing.
We dragon aspects have fulfilled our great purpose, and our ancient power is expended. But though our day draws to an end, life endures, and new generations will be born. Today's victory belongs to all who stood against the shadow. You are Azeroth's true guardians, and the future of this world is in your hands. For the dawning of the Age of Mortals has begun.
With Deathwing defeated, the Aspect fulfilled their mission, and they lost their Aspect powers, while also losing the ability to reproduce. Now placing Garrosh's war chief caused for a bit of trouble, since not all of the leaders of the Horde agreed with Thrall's decision. Cairn, leader of the Torrents, even went as far as to challenge Garrosh to a duel after a peaceful meeting between druids was attacked by orcs. Cairn believed that Garrosh was behind this attack, but it was actually organized by the Twilight Hammer clan. The clan who want nothing more than to bring about the end of the world. Garrosh tried to scare Cairn out of this duel by making it a duel to the death, but Cairn had honor and he willingly agreed. He might have actually won the duel was it not for Megaphar Grimtotem, who poisoned Garrosh his weapon. One single blow felled the mighty bull and Garrosh ended Cairn's life. This was what Megaphar had hoped for, since she had always hated Cairn and she assaulted his city and took it over. Thankfully, Cairn's son Bane was able to escape the city in time. He got help from Jaina Proudmoore to take his city back, and they banished Megaphar forever. Garrosh wasn't behind this betrayal. At the time he was still fighting with honor, but tensions were building within the Horde and would rise to a boiling point during Mist of Pandaria. After a moment of honor during the Cataclysm, Garrosh now decided to bring all-out war back to Azeroth. This started with the bombing of Faramore, in which he used dishonorable tactics and literally dropped a mana bomb on the city itself. This pissed off the Alliance of course, and even his fellow Horde leaders did not agree with his methods. Jaina Proudmoore was about to flood the city of Orgrimmar in retaliation, but Thrall and Caelid were able to talk her out of it. Shortly afterwards, Prince Anduin Wrynn set sail to resume his studies with Velen the Prophet. But along the way, they ended up in battle with the Horde and their ship crashed on the land known as Pandaria. The Alliance they receive a distress call from the ship and they quickly go to recover their prince, while Garrosh sees this as a new land to conquer for the Horde. Sending the full might of both factions would take too long though, so a small expedition is sent in first, while the remaining troops get ready to help them out.
To ask why we fight is to ask why the leaves fall.
The land of Pandaria itself is a land rich with history. In ancient times, the Titans battled with the old god Y'Shaarj, and they actually killed this old god. In his final moments, Y'Shaarj unleashed his final breath, which infected the land with the Sha. Sha are creatures who feed on emotions, so the people who live on Pandaria, they had to learn how to control themselves. The only thing left of Y'Shaarj after killing him was his heart, and the Titans placed this in a container and hid it away deep in the ground. Over time, the Mogu, creatures created by the Titans to help them fight and shape the land, would be corrupted, and instead of fulfilling the mission of the Titans, they started to enslave the people of Pandaria. The Pandaren spent centuries under the iron rule of the Mogu, but by mastering how to fight with their bodies instead of weapons, they were able to overthrow the Mogu and become rulers of Pandaria themselves. This created the first monks in history, and from this point on, the Pandaren and Pandaria would be ruled by emperors.
When they rose as warriors.
Adventurous Pandaren could not just sit on a single island, and sometimes they would leave the island to explore the worlds. Those that decided that Pandaria was too small to contain their spirit for adventure joined Lu Lang on his giant sea turtle known as the Wandering Isle. They lived their lives without interfering with the Horde or the Alliance, but one day a ship crashed on the turtle, greatly injuring it and introducing the Horde and Alliance to the Pandaren. After healing the turtle and interacting with both factions, the Pandaren of the Wandering Isle decided to seek adventure and join either the Horde or the Alliance. As I mentioned earlier, Pandaria is infected with the Sha, and the Horde and Alliance, they never learned how to control their emotions. On top of that, they also brought their war to this peaceful land, and this caused a whole bunch of problems. The Sha was feeding on their emotions, so it grew in power, broke out of their prisons and corrupted whatever they could. The Mogu, they used the opportunity to rise up again, while the Mentit, an ancient race who worship Y'Shaarj, they found their queen to be corrupted by the Sha. Lei Shen the Thunder King was resurrected by the Zandalari trolls who had come to Pandaria to find a new land to live on. All in all, our arrival on Pandaria caused mayhem. We were set on the task of cleaning up our own mess, while the Alliance also searched for Prince Anduin. Garrosh had his Horde looking for more powerful artifacts to add to his army, and this quest pushed the Horde leaders even further away. Vol'jin had already spoken out against Garrosh, and he followed his war chief to Pandaria to keep an eye on him. Garrosh sent Vol'jin on a mission to investigate a cave, which was said to hold incredible powers to shape and create life. He told the orcs that would join Vol'jin to take out the troll if he gave any sign of treason, and when they reached the cave, Vol'jin realized that this was dark magic.
Garrosh, big god. This ain't what the Horde is about.
Twisting and shaping life was not what the Horde was all about, so he spoke out against it, and the orcs tried to take his life. Thankfully, the heroes of the Horde managed to stop them before they could finish the job. Vol'jin recovered from his wounds, and he returned to lead the rebellion against Garrosh and his true Horde. Even the Alliance joined this rebellion to put Garrosh out of the mantle of Horde Chief, and together they seized Orgrimmar and took out anything Garrosh placed in their paw. Even the mighty War Chief himself, powered by the heart of Y'Shaarj, was unable to stand against the combined might of the Horde and Alliance, which meant that Garrosh's tyranny had finally come to an end.
You disappoint me, Garrosh. You are not worthy of your father's legacy. His punishment is for you to decide. I won't let you take it. We have all suffered from his atrocities. My people, more than any other. Let him stand trial in Pandaria. There, we will mete out justice for all.
Or maybe not. Vol'jin becomes the new war chief. Garrosh is going to be put on trial to decide what to do with him. Bane is put on the task of defending Garrosh, while Thrawn the Whisperwind makes her case against him. In the end, the trial didn't matter though, since Garrosh was allowed to escape with the help of the Bronze Dragon Titan's Dawn. Together, they stepped through a portal, which sent them back in time to an alternative reality. This reality is set on Draenor in the past, before it became corrupted and turned into Outland, around the time of the first Horde invasion. History is going to repeat itself with a couple of twists, since this so-called Iron Horde will once again connect the Dark Portal and try to invade our reality in our current time period. This leads us into the upcoming expansion Warlords of Draenor, in which heroes of the Alliance and the Horde team up once more to battle over the fate of Azeroth. Time will tell where the story might go, but for now, this is the story of Warcraft as we know it. At least a very short version. Like I said at the start, if you like more details on certain subjects, I'll link my playlist with all my lore videos in chronological order. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. It took quite some time to make it, but I'm very happy that I got it done. Now, whenever someone asks me for a beginner's guide to lore, I can just link them this video. And if you truly enjoyed this video, I invite you to do the same. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time, guys. See ya!
Our bond is iron.
See you.
Our will
Thank you for the
unbreakable.
lore.
Who will stand against us?
Old Gods is a little bit unclear. It's Hello everyone. Before we begin, let me tell you that the information about the Titans and the Old Gods is a little bit unclear. It sometimes changes depending on your source, but I'll try to tell you the global story. If any of my information is wrong, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. Let's begin, shall we? It's uncertain how the Warcraft universe came to be. Some say that it was created by a single entity, while others believe that a catastrophic cosmic explosion sent the infinite worlds spinning out into the vastness of the Great Dark. What is certain is that out of creation, a race of Titans emerged. The Titans, their sole purpose is to bring order to the universe, stability to the various worlds, and ensure a safe future for the beings that will follow in their footsteps. They did this by traveling from planet to planet to shape the world. The Titans are led by an elite cult known as the Pantheon. You have Aman'Thul, High Father and leader of the Pantheon, Eonar, matron of all life, Norgron, Lorekeeper and Master Magician, Golganeth, the son of Aman'Thul and Eonar, Kaskarov, shaper and forger of the world, and Sargeras, the Titans' greatest warrior, defender of their worlds. Sargeras would later on betray the Pantheon and team up with the demons. His replacement is Akramar. So the Titans were on their crusade to bring order to the universe, and after a while the Titans found a little planet now known as Azeroth. And here the story changes depending on your source. There are sources that claim that the Titans themselves created Azeroth, others that say Azeroth was already there. There are sources that say Old Gods infected Azeroth after the Titans' arrival, others say that it was already infected. I'm going to go with the in-game version based on the Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth book. This version states that the planet Azeroth was already there before the Titans arrived. The Titans found the world to be infected with Old Gods, and the elements were waging war with each other. The elementals were led by elemental lords, and their names are Alakir the Wind Lord, Neptulon the Tide Hunter, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, and Terrazane the Stone Mother. The Old Gods are pretty much the counterparts of the Titans. Where the Titans want to bring order to the universe, the Old Gods feed on chaos. It's uncertain as to how many Old Gods there are in the universe, but there are sources that claim that the Old Gods did not come from Azeroth, they simply infected it. The Old Gods are also not bound to Azeroth itself, since there have been sightings of Old Gods in Outlands. The Titans and the Old Gods fought with each other, and even though the Elemental Lords were powerful, even their combined might was no match for the Titans. The Titans defeated the Elemental Lords and banished them to the Abyssal Plains, where they will continue to do battle with each other. After that, they battled the Old Gods, and the Old Gods were one by one defeated. However, to their dismay, the Titans found out that killing an Old God would mean the destruction of Azeroth. So instead, the Titans imprisoned them within the planet itself. This infection that prevented them from killing the Old Gods would later on be referred to as the Curse of Flesh. During the war between the Old Gods and the Titans, there is one Old God actually killed and one Titan fell. It's uncertain if that means that the Titan was actually killed. Once the elements were banished to their planes, nature became peaceful again, and the Titans began their work of shaping the world. To help them with this project, the Titans created a couple of races. To help them carve out the earth, the Titans created the dwarf-like earthen from magical living stone. To help them dredge out the seas and lift the land from the seafloor, the Titans created the immense but gentle sea giants. For many ages, the Titans moved and shaped the earth, until at last there remained one perfect continent. Shaping and creating Azeroth took many ages, and the Titans discarded anything they didn't like to the now known Emerald Dream. The Emerald Dream is like the blueprint of Azeroth, the way Azeroth would be if no life would have changed the world. For example, in Azeroth there is the city of Stormwind, built by the humans. On the same location in the Emerald Dream you would see a forest. At the continent's center, the Titans crafted a lake. The lake, which they named the Well of Eternity, was to be the basis of life for the world. As twilight fell on the final day of their labors, the Titans named the continent Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Starlight. The world was created in the image of the Titans, but they knew that the old gods were still buried beneath the earth, so they decided to leave certain defenses and guardians behind in case the old gods would ever become a threat again. Best known are probably the 5 dragon aspects, who each were granted a portion of the Titans their power. These were Nosdormu the Timeless One, the massive bronze dragon chosen by Aman'Thul to guard time itself and police the ever-spinning pathways of fate and destiny. Alexstrasza the Lifebinder, the Red Leviathan chosen by Eonar to safeguard all life on the world. Ysera the Dreamer, the Green Dragon and Alexstrasza's younger sister, chosen by Eonar to watch over the growing wilds of the world from her realm, the Emerald Dream. Melagos the Spellweaver, Blue Dragon chosen by Norgannon as the guardian of magic and hidden arcanum. He would later on go mad and be replaced with Kalecgos. And finally, Neltharion the Earthwarder, aka Deathwing, the mighty black dragon chosen by Khaz'goroth and given dominion over the earth and the deep places of the world. Ironically, this connection to the world of Azeroth would cause Neltharion to go insane and eventually become Deathwing. Besides the aspects, there were also certain titanic structures and creatures like Ulduar and the jailers of Yogg-Saron. However, the Titans still wanted to make sure that the old gods would never become a threat again, so on top of these defenders they also left behind failsafe devices. For example, you had Loken near Ulduar, who upon death would send a message to Elgalon the Observer. Elgalon would then come down, scan the world, and if it indeed was infected, he would send a message to the Pantheon would destroy Azeroth and rebuild it. Later on in Cataclysm we found another similar device in the Halls of Lightning. Heroes, with the help of Bran Bronzebeard and Harrison Jones, were able to disable the device before Deathwing got his hands on it. If they didn't, it could have been used to destroy entire Azeroth. It makes you wonder though, why not kill all the old gods to begin with? Why let life exist on the planet if you're planning to destroy it anyways? I'll get back to that question in the speculation video. So the Titans left, and let life on Azeroth evolve as they made their way to other planets in the universe. What happened next? Well, the funny thing is that if you backtrack nearly every story of Warcraft, you'll eventually find out that either the old gods or the Titans are its source. And with Titans, I also count Sargeras. Sargeras' story is an interesting one, and I'll try to give you the short version of it, but it is important to know it. As I said before, he was the champion of the Pantheon, kicking chaos butt and defending the worlds the Titans created. However, at some point in time, before the creation of Azeroth, he fell into madness. He felt despair as he saw how much the universe was fighting against the vision of the Titans, and this despair caused him to free the demons that he first fought against, eventually creating an army called the Burning Legion. He felt that the Titans themselves were responsible of creation's failure, and he set out to undo the work of the Titans. Sargeras and the Legion eventually became aware of the young world of Azeroth due to the Night Elves' reckless use of arcane magic, and Sargeras began to hunger for the limitless energies of the Well of Eternity. He manipulated Queen Azshara into creating a portal that would allow him to enter our world. This would have succeeded was it not for the Night Elves, aided by Cenaria's Woodfolk and Alexstrasza's dragons. They destroyed the Well of Eternity, causing the portal to implode and split the continent of Kalimdor apart, leaving behind the major continents and scattered islands that are known today. Those are Northrend, Khazan, the Eastern Kingdoms, Pandaria, and the remnants still referred to as Kalimdor. It is rumored that Queen Azshara made a pact with an old god as they fell into the sea. This pact would forever change her highborn into the Naga that we know today. The site of the Well of Eternity became a swirling vortex of power known as the Maelstrom, a storm of chaotic energies, which continues to rage to this very day. The entire war would later be known as the War of the Ancients, but it wouldn't be the last time that Sargeras tried to conquer our planet. The second time he tried to do it by infecting Guardian Aegwynn, waiting inside of her and eventually possessing her son Medivh. This caused the events of the Dark Portal and the first war between orcs and humans. However, Sargeras was discovered by Medivh's apprentice and they killed Medivh before Sargeras' plan succeeded. It's said that Sargeras is still out there waiting to make his return. To this date, it's still unclear how many worlds the Burning Legion has consumed. All the more impressive that our little planet Azeroth has been able to stand up against him. So a quick recap: Titans came, saw Azeroth, created in their image, left the Well of Eternity behind, and let life do its thing. After that, the Well of Eternity exploded, splitting the continent of Kalimdor into different pieces. Sargeras became evil, tried to take over our world, and we stopped him to do so. Next time we take a look at what we exactly know about the Old Gods. Thank you for watching, hit subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya! Hello everyone. Last time we took a look at the Titans, now let's see what we know about the Old Gods. The Old Gods are not native to Azeroth, they simply infected it. They're also not bound to Azeroth itself, since an Old God has been seen in Outland. It's uncertain where exactly the Old Gods came from, but what we do know is that they were fighting with each other. In this war they used the Elemental Lords and they pitched the elements against each other. That is of course until the Titans came and imprisoned them beneath the earth. Depending on the source, 3, 4 or 5 Old Gods lie imprisoned beneath Azeroth. I'll once again go with the Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth book, which states that the Titans imprisoned 5 evil gods far beneath the surface of the world. The Old Gods are the counterparts of the Titans, where the Titans want order, the Old Gods want chaos. The Old Gods used the Curse of Flesh to weaken the seed races. This weakness would make them easier to manipulate and would cause some of the early races to evolve into the species that we know today. The seed races are the original races created by the Titans, and for example you have the Urvan that evolved into the Dwarves or the Vrykul into the humans. The first Old God that we discovered in Classic was named C'Thun. Now either it's C'Thun or Cth Hun, I just say C'Thun. The prophecy of C'Thun claims that a battle between a Titan and C'Thun raged in Silithus. A Titan fell, but may not have died, and an Old God had also fallen. However, the Old God did survive, and he survived unnoticed by the Titans. For millennia he lay dormant beneath the world, biding its time. From its prison, it waited for the exact moment at which to strike back at those that would see it harmed. Over time, the Well of Eternity would give life to the creatures known as the Silithid. C'Thun used the Silithid to create avatars of his image, later known as Kirai. The Kirai would name the Old God C'Thun, and C'Thun was born. The great fortress city of Ankirai was created to house the growing armies and prepare for the coming of C'Thun. His children had spent thousands of years building an army capable of exacting revenge upon the whole of Kalimdor, and there were no Titans around to stop them this time. Only the Night Elves that once inhabited this area were there to defend. They call this the War of the Shifting Sands. The Night Elves held their ground, led by a Night Elf known as Stakhelm. Eventually the twin emperors of Ankirai would capture the son of Stakhelm and brutally execute him in front of the Night Elf forces. The war continued, but the will of the great leader was sapped. The whole of Silithus was soon engulfed by the Silithids, and the Night Elves retreated to Un'Goro Crater. Something in Un'Goro Crater prevented the Kirai from being able to. They referred to it as Godlands, but it's uncertain what exactly stopped them. What we do know is that this gave the Night Elves enough time to ask the Bronze Dragonflight for help. At first they refused, but after the Caverns of Time were attacked, the Bronze Dragonflight joined the battle. Even the combined strength of the Dragonflight and the Night Elves wasn't enough to win the battle, so the Bronze asked the help of Red, Blue and Green. All of them together managed to push the Kirai back into the ruins and raise a wall that would hold them imprisoned, until the day would come that someone would reforge the Scepter of the Shifting Sands and hit the gong. And hit the gong we did. On January 23rd, 2006, the gates of Ankirai were opened for the first time and the path to C'Thun lay before us. Adventurers bravely fought an Old God for the very first time, and like the Titans, they thought it was defeated. As it turns out, we merely defeated the manifestation of C'Thun. His will, his essence, is still alive, and while the Lich King attacked Stormwind City in Ogrimmar, Cho'Gall began the resurrection of his new master, the Old God C'Thun. This deformed the ogre's body, which became monstrous and with similar features to his master. Eventually Cho'Gall would fail to resurrect his master, but the threat of C'Thun is ever present.
Death is close.
The second major manifestation that we've seen of an Old God was Yogg-Saron. Yogg-Saron was imprisoned by the Titans inside Ulduar, and to guard him they left behind the Titanic Watchers known as Loken, Thorim, Hodir, Tyr, Mimiron and Freya. Yogg-Saron wanted what every old god wants, and that is to be free again, so he corrupted his jailers, started with Loken. Loken was the chief jailer or prime designate. After his corruption, Loken subdued the other Watchers and made it possible for Yogg-Saron to escape. Loken was leading the Aesir, Storm Giants and Vanir, Earth Giants, but would eventually turn those against each other in order of Yogg-Saron. This war between the giants would give Loken a reason for neutralizing them, and he would place the Irvan, Giants and Vrykul into stasis at locations like Ulduar and Uldaman. He also killed Sif, the wife of his brother Thorim, and blamed the Frost Giants. This turned Thorim against his former allies and would later cause him to give in to despair. All in all, Loken became as corrupted as could be, and like I said, this allowed Yogg-Saron to escape his bindings.
How could we have missed this until now? King Varian, thank you for coming on such short notice.
What's this all about, Ronan?
I've called you here to ask for your help. While our efforts against the Lich King press on, Bran here has brought us frightening news of the horrors beneath Ulduar and of its dark prisoner.
Prisoner? Ha! With its binding shattered, its influence unchecked, it's gonna come after us, and we're gonna be the prisoners.
You can see now what we're up against. If this evil is not stopped, then the armies of the Death God will march on our doorstep.
You'll have to excuse me.
Well, what do you propose we do?
Thrall, what are you doing here so soon?
The summons sounded dire, Jaina. What's happened?
Bran Bronzebeard's forces assaulted the gates of Ulduar. They battled the Iron Lords and their cursed minions.
Immersive action! Immersive action!
He won't stop talking about this presence he felt, permeating the great halls, stirring in their minds, chilling their blood. He said the horror that the Titans imprisoned so long ago, Yogg-Saron, has awakened.
Bran Bronzebeard would explore Ulduar in Wrath of the Lich King in search of hidden Titan knowledge or treasure. What he found was not what he expected, and he quickly made his way to the Kirin Tor, asking them for aid in breaching Ulduar and placing Yogg-Saron back in his confinements. The heroes of the Horde and the Alliance answered the call, and they made their way through Ulduar, freeing the Guardians Thorim, Hodir, Mimiron and Freya from their corruption. Those that are still paying attention might have noticed that there is one Watcher missing, namely Tyr. It's unknown where Tyr currently is. All we know is that he wasn't in Ulduar when we arrived, and that he left his Watcher's tower without a struggle. Who knows, we might see him again in the future. The heroes made their way to the chamber of Yogg-Saron, and with the help of the Guardians managed to subdue him. What's interesting to note is that during the Yogg-Saron encounter, players were able to witness 3 events from the history of Warcraft. You had the creating of the Dragon Soul,
His brood learned their lesson before too long. You will soon learn yours.
the assassination of King Lien by Corona Half-Orcan,
The clans are united under Black Hand in this assault. They will stand together until Stormwind has fallen. Gul'dan is bringing up his warlocks by nightfall. Until then, the Blackrock clan will be trying to take the eastern wall.
1,000 deaths. We will hold until the reinforcements come. As long as men with stout hearts are manning the walls and the throne, Stormwind will hold.
Tremble, mortals, before the coming of the end.
The Orc leaders agree with your assessment.
Your petty quarrels only make me stronger.
and a vision where you could see the Lich King torturing Bolvar Fordragon.
I am not afraid of you! I will break you as I broke him. Giliath,
speculated that Yogg-Saron has influenced these 3 specific events, however, this is purely speculation. The manifestation of Yogg-Saron was defeated, and the brave heroes focused their attention against the Lich King. Time passed until the Cataclysm shattered the world.
Your fate is sealed. The end of days is finally upon you, and all who inhabit this miserable little seedling. Umului Visara, Gargerong, Wish. My torment. Its wretched kingdoms quake beneath my rage.
In Cataclysm we don't face the Old God directly, but we are told who is controlling Deathwing, namely the Old God Enzoth. It were the whispers of Enzoth who drove Deathwing into madness, and it's rumored that Enzoth is the source of corruption from the Emerald Nightmare. The goal of Deathwing is to fulfill an ancient prophecy called the Hour of Twilight, where all the defenses fail and the Old Gods are free to roam the world once again. As most of you will remember, we defeated Deathwing with the help of the Dragon Aspects and Thrall. In the end cinematic we are told that the Dragon Aspects have fulfilled their purpose and that their ancient powers are expanded.
But now, we must see it with mortal eyes. We Dragon Aspects have fulfilled our great purpose, and our ancient power is expended.
And this is the main reason why I hated Cataclysm so much. I won't complain about how they're going to return the Dragon Soul when they don't have control over time anymore. That's time travel, you know, you can give a spin to that. What I can't understand is that Alexstrasza says that they fulfilled their destiny. So bear with me, right? Their destiny was apparently to stop the Hour of Twilight. The one causing the Hour of Twilight is Deathwing, in order of the Old Gods. Deathwing became the puppet of the Old Gods because he received the powers from the Titans. This gave him a connection to the Earth, driving him insane by the whispers of the Old Gods, yeah? So he received these powers to apparently stop the Hour of Twilight, which he would cause because of those powers. So if you take away giving the powers bits, there would be no Deathwing, there would be no Hour of Twilight, and the whole reason of giving their powers would fall away. This just doesn't make sense to me. And did everyone just forget about the Old God Enzoth, who actually put this all in motion? Wouldn't it be handy to have Dragon Aspects to clean up this mess? And what about the unnamed Old God that we still don't know about?
You are Azeroth's true guardians, and the future of this world is in your hands. For the dawning of the Age of Mortals has begun.
Besides that bit, Alexstrasza says that it's the Age of Mortals. And what do we mortals do? Balm Faramore and invade Pandaria. Very good call, Alexstrasza. Well done. With that little rant said, it's time to take a look at the next named Old God in Pandaria. I'm going to tell you a couple of the theories that people have come up with and see what the future might bring. I will do this in the next video since it will contain spoilers for 5.2, so that people can make the choice for themselves if they want spoilers or not. Thank you for watching, hit subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya! Hello everyone. Last time we took a look at the Old Gods, and some of you might have noticed that I didn't mention the new Old God, Y'Shaarj. I did this to prevent from giving any patch 5.2 spoilers, so be warned, there might be spoilers in this video. The story begins at the very beginning, where the Titans arrived on Azeroth and fought with the Old Gods.
Before your history began, our empire was vast. We shared this world with our sister kingdoms, Ahn'Qiraj and Azure.
He infected the land of Pandaria with the Shah, and the Titans found out that killing an old god would eventually destroy the world. Imprisoning a complete old god would be wiser than to strike it down and let it multiply. This all happened before the Sundering, so Kalimdor was still a complete continent. Revyon tells us what happens next.
According to this runestone, the Mogu were Titan constructs, soulless creatures built of stone. The Mogu served a Titan keeper. His name was Ra. In the Mogu tongue, Ra-Den means Master Ra. The Mogu and their master were sent to Pandaria. They were pursuing a great darkness. Here there is a mention of an old god, Y'Shaarj, a beast with 7 heads who breathed darkness. I suspect that thing was the source of the Shah that haunts Pandaria to this day. This runestone speaks of a cradle of life, a place where the Titans could create new creatures. Oh, of course, the Veil of Eternal blossoms. It was a living laboratory, much like Ungoro Crater or Sholazar Basin. The Mogu were created and sent here to guard the Veil for their Titan masters. Guard it from what? Were the old gods still a threat? Here, this fragment speaks of the winged legions of Y'Shaarj. Servants of an old god? Could this mean the Mantic?
The Mogu and Ra-Den were sent to Pandaria by the Titans with a mission, but it's unclear what exactly that mission was. Here's what Lorewalker Cho has to say about it.
Parents place their children on a path, but they do not always know where the road will take them. The Mogu were children as well, children of the Titans. They were once a legion of stone, heartless and obedient. By the Titans' command, they fought the terrible servants of the old gods. They shaped the mountains and carved the rivers of the land. And they created a magical cradle of life in a hidden valley that we now call the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. But eventually, the Titans fell silent, and their creations were cursed with flesh. The Mogu grew restless. Many generations later, when the Thunder King united them, they seized upon their legacy. I truly believe now that the Mogu thought they were doing the work of the Titans. They fought against the Mantid and used the powers of the Veil to create new life.
Okay, so the Mogu had a mission, but for some reason the Titans fell silent and the Mogu fell prey to the curse of flesh. The Mogu received their orders from Ra-Den, but...
Something about the Sleeping Keeper. I think it's referring to Ra-Den, but why was he asleep? You found another piece of the puzzle. This was carved by the Mogu. They were frustrated 1,000 years with no orders from their master, and their bodies had turned to flesh. The Mogu began to argue amongst themselves. This runestone speaks of Mogu savagery. They fell apart into warrior clans, but one king was more ambitious than the others. Lei Shen, the Thunder King. When the Titan Keeper fell silent, Lei Shen decided to speak for him. Ah, the final piece of the puzzle. The Thunder King took on the powers of Ra-Den, the very essence of a Titan. He united the Mogu into an empire and tried to continue the Titan's work. Of course he saw himself as a god.
It's unknown why exactly Ra-Den fell silent, but what we do know is that he will be the heroic only boss in the upcoming Throne of Thunder raid. The Dungeon Journal says, legend has it that Lei Shen found an ancient Titan Keeper guarding a miraculous device known as the Engine of Nalashka. No one knows what transpired between the two beings, but Lei Shen later emerged from the site, bristling with the power to forge an empire. I personally think Lei Shen overpowered Ra-Den for some reason, took his powers and imprisoned Ra-Den within the Throne of Thunder. When you defeat Ra-Den, he says,
Wait! I am not your enemy. You are powerful, more powerful than he was even. Perhaps you are right.
Either way, Lei Shen came back with the power of a Titan Keeper and he set out to finish the Titans' work. They enslaved Pandaria, allied with Sandalari, and they built the Serpent's Wall to keep the Mented away from the rest of Pandaria, since Lei Shen knew that the Mented would never follow his ruling. The Mogu also created Divine Bell, which was a bell cast from the Maker's flesh, shaped by Star's fire, and bound by the breath of Darkest Shadow. This bell, when rung, could shake the world and call to the heavens. Taken to war, the bell's tones steered the hearts of Lei Shen's warriors. It fueled their hatred and anger, lending them strength on the field of battle. The bell's screaming voice struck fear and doubt into the hearts of the Emperor's enemies, sending them fleeing in his path. This bell basically tapped into the powers of the Sha that lay dormant in the soil of Pandaria. What struck me as interesting was that it says, cast from the Maker's flesh. The makers of the Mogu are the Titans, so is there a Titan in Pandaria, or does it mean made from the flesh of Raden? Lei Shen would eventually die. It's uncertain why he died, but he did bestow the Zandalari with the power and knowledge of resurrecting him.
Under Kunlai thunder sleeps. The storm long spent their rests. But blood of brother kingdom keeps alive the dispossessed. By Zandalari blood, he will be taken. To Zandalari voice, he will awaken.
Emperors came and went, and the Pandaren would eventually rise up and overthrow the Mogu. Time passed until the day Xiao Hao was crowned Emperor of Pandaria. He followed the tradition of all the emperors before him and sought the counsel of the great Water Speaker of the Jinyu. This Water Speaker foresaw the events at the Well of Eternity and the sundering that would split the continent of Kalimdor apart. Emperor Xiao Hao was terrified by this vision, and he spoke with the Jade Serpent, the Spirit of Wisdom. The Jade Serpent urged Xiao Hao to divest himself of his burdens, to purify his spirit, and to become one with the land. Xiao Hao asked his companion the Monkey King to help him with this task, and for 3 days and 3 nights he meditated as to how he could purge himself of all doubt. The Monkey King became wary of waiting, and he made a mask of doubt for the Emperor. He urged the Emperor to place the mask of doubt on his face. The mask worked. As Xiao Hao pulled the mask away, his doubt took on a physical form, and this is what I believe to be the rebirth of the Sha. So far in the history of Pandaria, there's no mention of any physical manifestation of the Sha, only the Mogu who tapped into the power of them. That means that with the actions of the Emperor, he fed the Sha's emotions, and this gave them the strength to manifest into actual beings. The Emperor repeated this progress until he cast away his 6 burdens. Eventually he would tell his people to live each day to its fullest and sleep each night with the peace of a mind unburdened. And he told the Shadowpan to restrain and control the Sha, which his actions placed upon Pandaria. He would continue his journey to the Terrace of Eternal Spring, there to separate Pandaria from the rest of the world. But try as he might, he was unable. The ground trembled but did not move. Soon he began to doubt, and the Sha of Doubt began to emerge from the east. He began to fear, and the Sha of Fear began ripping out of his shackles to the west. Desperate, he called out the Jade Serpent for help. Pandaria is more than just the Pandaren Empire, she told Xiao Hao. Your enemies to the west are as much as part of the land as your empire behind the wall. Seeing that all things were connected in an eternal whole, and that this beloved land was more than just the Pandaren Empire, Xiao Hao at last understood. His staff clattered to the floor as his spirit became one with the land. When the world tore itself apart, Pandaria drifted quietly into the ocean. And as the Emperor's robes fluttered empty to the ground, the land became enveloped in impenetrable mists, hidden away from the rest of the world. The Pandaren would from that moment on live in relative peace and harmony. There was the occasional Mented invasion, but the Sha infestation was under control. That is, until the mist parted and we set foot on land. Us setting foot in Pandaria fed the Sha with every single emotion, allowing them to escape their bindings and even control the Mented Queen and the leader of the Shadowpan. This gave the scattered Mogu clans the opportunity of retaking some of their facilities and, with the help of the Zandalari, resurrect Lei Shen, the Thunder King. And here the story reaches present day. There's a lot of speculation about a possible 7th Sha, and this speculation is there because Y'Shaarj had 7 heads and Xiao Hao had 7 burdens. There was an interview where they said that 7 was just an easy number to use and that we won't see a 7th Sha. It seems logical, since Xiao Hao's last burden was not an emotion. It was merely a realization that your negative emotions are as much part of you as the positive ones. So what's next? Now we get to the part of speculation and wild guesses. Don't take this as anything set in stone, it's just fun to speculate. When you defeat Raden, he will tell you the following.
Wait! I am not your enemy. You are powerful, more powerful than he was even. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps there is still hope. But there is A yawning chasm of darkness beneath you mortals, vast, endless, and all-consuming. I do not believe that you can correct this doomed course, but you have earned the right to try.
It seems like Raden is giving us a warning about darkness beneath us, which is a clear reference to the old gods. It's possible that he knows nothing about what we've done in the past, or maybe he knows more than we do. Could this also be the reason why he was underground for so long, why he fell asleep? Was he looking for a way of defeating the old gods, or did he just fall into despair? As we follow Refion's questline, we eventually take the heart of the Thunder King and give it to Refion. Upon touching it, he receives a vision.
The powers of a god. It is filled with Titan magic, the very language of creation. Oh, I see them. A million worlds, glittering in their perfection. But one above all others.
Oh, we have fallen. We must rebuild the final Titan. Do not forget.
It is gone. I don't remember any of it. Oh, none of them remember. The irony.
This can mean so many things. Let's see what we can make out of this. We have fallen could mean that the Pantheon has fallen, or it's an old message where the Mogul fell to the curse of flesh. We must rebuild the final Titan indicates that there are no new Titans and that you can rebuild them somehow. Remember the prophecy of Kafun where one old god died and one fell? Also the Divine Bell was created from the Maker's flesh. Did they use the flesh of a fallen Titan? Is there a fallen Titan somewhere under Pandaria? And for some reason the Mogul collectively forgot about all of this. Was that because of the Curse of Flesh? Who knows, but it's one hell of a cliffhanger and it leaves us with Refion controlling the power to create worlds. I doubt that anything good will come from this. So we have 5 old gods chained beneath the earth and 1 killed. Yasharaj was apparently the old god that they killed, and so far we've defeated Kafun, Yogg-Saron and indirectly Enzov. That means that there are 1 or 2 old gods to be found if you don't count Yasharaj as being imprisoned. I'll post a couple of articles in the description if you want to read some speculation, but honestly the only one that knows is Chris Metzen, and he's not telling. Even if they announce the new names, the lores can always be changed to host more old gods or to change it, so really you can speculate all you want, you won't find a clear answer until they've announced it. I want to end this video with answering the question from my first one. It makes you wonder though, why not kill all the old gods to begin with? Why let life exist on the planet if you're planning to destroy it anyways? There are several theories on this one. One is that Azeroth is actually a Titan egg, which holds a new Titan. Another is that Azeroth was actually created around the old gods to be a prison for them. Both could be true, especially with the new information from Refion, but my personal favorite is this one. Imagine for a moment that you are the Titans. Your brother Sargeras, the noblest of all, comes to you in despair. He has doubts about your crusade of bringing order to the universe, and even though you try, you can't reason with him. At that moment it hits you. The race of Titans, believed to be indestructible, can fall to the darkness of the universe. You realize that it will take more than just the Titanic races to defeat the darkness. With your powers over time, you receive a vision of a planet still infant, corrupted but with potential. A vision where heroes will be born in the fire of battle. They will struggle, they will fight. Some will fall to darkness, some will embrace the light. Even the one you used to call brother will try to take away their lives, but they will hold their ground and grow stronger. They will fight amongst each other. They will find new allies from planets far away. They will set aside their differences simply to keep the darkness at bay. Until the day comes where they are ready to stand at your side to fight not just for their own survival, but for the fate of the universe. And as soon as Anduin came into view, the world changed. Instead of the prince, an armored warrior stood before him, his plate helm and breastplate shining with the essence of the light itself. The warrior wielded a sword forged from the same material as the armor, held it aloft as he perched on an outcropping. Whether it was on another world or Azeroth, Velen couldn't quite tell. And suddenly, the dark sky above erupted with the combined chivalry of Azeroth races. The Blood Elves, Orcs, Trolls, Taurens, and even the accursed undead and scheming goblins rode flying mounts of every sort and description. They were armored and armed in magical weaponry, glowing with so much power it hurt Velen's eyes to look at them. Beside the legions of the Horde, the ancient Night Elves charged with humans, dwarves and gnomes, whose ancestors formed the original alliance, and the shape-changing Worgen were united within them. Vhelen's own Draenei bolstered the army, their ranks abandoned in otherworldly metals and bearing crystalline maces and swords. The Alliance and Horde were not alone. Dragons swooped and soared in formations that made the sky resemble a giant, multicolored reptilian wing. They blanketed the horizon with their physical size and numbers, and when they roared a challenge, it shook not just the earth Vhelen stood on, but the universe as well. And yet for all this, the greatest shock to Vhelen's senses came as he saw those that flew just beyond the army of the dragons. The Naaru had taken the field, so many that Vhelen didn't understand how creation could contain them. The power of these beings of light filled Vhelen's heart with hope, swept away the lonely centuries, and left him in wonder that he could ever despair, that the dark, no matter how terrible, could ever truly reign. And then a shadow fell. It was vast and empty, and swallowed all light that entered it. Vhelen knew it would be all-consuming, until at last it would turn and devour itself, endlessly gnawing on nothing in the great dark beyond, removing all meaning from the universe, from the most heartbreaking sonata to the most arresting sunset. It was too terrible to see, to comprehend, and yet the army headed straight for it, and the light began to fade. It's just a story. Even if it doesn't come to such an epic conclusion, I'll just be happy if they give Mists of Pandaria a proper ending. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and thank you for all your comments. Now, I tried to tell most of the story about the Titans and Old Gods, but it's so vast, I simply couldn't get all the information in. But eventually, once we get through all the stories of Warcraft, you will see either it's Titan or Old God at the source, so we eventually will get there. I always enjoy requests, so if you want to see specific lore, please don't be afraid to ask. Subscribe if you like my videos. And until next time, guys, see ya! Hello everyone! Ragnaros the Fire Lord was one of the 4 elemental lords. He ruled for a very long time until we killed him during the Cataclysm. But what's his story and how did he end up on Azeroth in the first place? That's what we're going to find out, so let's begin, shall we? In the early days of Azeroth, before the Titans came and reshaped the world was in chaos. The Old Gods ruled the planet, had enslaved the Elemental Lords, and they forced the elements to fight with each other. These 4 Elemental Lords were Elekir the Wind Lord, Pharazôn the Snow Mother, Neptulon the Tide Hunter, and Ragnaros the Fire Lord. This conflict between the elements made primordial Azeroth a very chaotic place, which the Old Gods love. They love chaos, they feed on it. Eventually, the planet was found by the Titans, and the Titans' their mission is to bring order to the universe. The complete opposite of what the Old Gods want, so a war for the planet followed. The Titans and their creations battled with the elements and the Old Gods. Although the Elemental Lords were extremely powerful, they were no match for the might of the Titans. Once defeated, the Titans imprisoned the Old Gods beneath Azeroth, and they banished the elements to the Elemental Plane. This Elemental Plane is a different realm created by the Titans to give the elements an area where they could roam in peace without bringing chaos to the world. Each element got their own area. Earth was placed within Deepholm, water within the Abyssal Maw, air within Skywall, and fire within the Firelands. Once the war was over, the Titans started to shape the world, and once it was finished, they called the land Kalimdor. Once their work was finished, they left the planet to do whatever the Titans are doing right now. Being imprisoned did not stop the elements from waging war with each other. For 5,000 years they battled, and they called this war the Elemental Sundering. Somewhere during this war, Ragnaros wanted to increase his power. Together with Gar and Berengeddon, they managed to corner Prince Vandaran, son of Elekir the Wind Lord. Vandaran was very powerful in his own right, even if he wasn't an Elemental Lord himself, but in the end he was defeated and Ragnaros absorbed his essence and power. He wasn't able to consume all of it, so great was Vandaran's power, so he imprisoned the remaining essence within a talisman of elemental binding. He then split this talisman in 2 and gave one piece to Berengeddon and one piece to Gar. You might think to yourself, how is it possible that we had to fight Ragnaros within the Molten Core, since he was imprisoned within the Elemental Plane? We've got the Dark Iron Dwarves and the War of 3 Hammers to thank for that one. Around 260 years ago, the 3 dwarven clans lived together in relative peace. They lived in the great city of Ironforge, and they were all ruled by High King Modemus Envolmar. The Bronzebeard clan lived close to the king, and they were the defense of Ironforge. The Wildhammer clan lived within the foothills and cracks around the base of the mountain, while the Dark Iron clan lived within the shadows underneath the mountain. A civil war broke out when Modemus passed away, since all the clans wanted to rule Ironforge. It were the Bronzebeard who had the biggest standing army, and they won the war, banishing the other clans from their mountain. The Wildhammers, they picked up their things and they moved north to build a new city of Grimbatol. The Dark Iron Dwarves were pissed about losing their war and they vowed revenge against Ironforge. They moved to the Redbridge Mountains, where they built their city called Fauruzan, named after their leader. All the clans were doing pretty well for several years, but the Dark Iron Dwarves were never able to get over their hatred towards their cousins. They attacked both cities simultaneously. Fauruzan attacked Ironforge, while his wife Modgud attacked Grimbatol, determined to rule all of Khaz Modan. The Bronzebeard clan was able to fight off Fauruzan's forces, and they were forced to flee back to their own city. Modgud did a little bit better than her husband, but eventually the Wildhammer clan managed to kill her, which forced the remaining Dark Iron Dwarves to flee to their home. Unfortunately for the Dark Iron Dwarves, by that time the Bronzebeard clan had already made their way to Grimbatol. They came to offer their help to the Wildhammer clan, and now the Dark Iron Dwarves were caught between two forces and they were quickly wiped out. This left only Fauruzan and his troops against the other two clans, and in his desperation, Fauruzan used his magic to summon a supernatural minion that would ensure his victory. Even to his surprise, the minion summoned turned out to be Ragnaros the Firelord, summoned into our realm because of Fauruzan and his magic. Ragnaros entering our world created the giant volcano we now call Blackrock Mountain, and it scarred the land of Redbridge, creating Searing Gorge and the Burning Steppes. Fauruzan was destroyed by all of this, but his fellow Dark Iron Dwarves were enslaved by Ragnaros. As all of this was going on, the Bronzebeard and the Wildhammer clan saw this happening, and they decided to turn around and go back to their own kingdoms, thinking that nothing could have survived such a huge explosion. The one good thing to come out of this war was that these two clans were now friendly again. The Bronzebeard even offered their home within Ironforge, but the Wildhammer clan no longer wished to live underground. They eventually moved to the hinterlands, and for years they traded with each other, and for a time their relation was excellent. Entering this world, scorching the land, killing Fauruzan and enslaving the Dark Iron Dwarves takes a lot of power, so Ragnaros lay dormant, collecting his strength while his minions did his work. Ragnaros was unable to return to the Firelands, so his plan was to dominate and burn all of Azeroth. He had the Dark Iron Dwarves working for him, and they created an army of living golems. They also created a new city for themselves within the mountain, and Blackrock Mountain will play a huge role within the Warcraft lore. This is the place where the first Horde made their base, where Turellian defeated Doomhammer, where Nefarian took over the Horde who remained within the mountain, and where he experimented on the different dragonflights. These are just a few examples of what's been going on near the mountain, but this is the story of Ragnaros, so I have to focus on him. The lore back in Classic wasn't great. Usually the story behind the boss was very simple. He's there, he is loot, now go and kill him. In the case of Ragnaros, it isn't much different. What we know is that he and his troops ended up at war with Nefarian and his troops. This drew attention, and we found out that both of these bad guys, they wanted us dead. They wanted us dead and rule the world, so we had to put a stop to it. Another being that wanted us to fight Ragnaros was Duke Hydraxis, member of the Hydraxian Waterlords. This Duke was located all the way out in Azshara, and this was quite a travel back in the day, and he gave you quests that would increase your reputation and allow you to prove your worth. Eventually he would send you into the Molten Core itself, and if they found you worthy, they would give you 1 flask of water. This water was then used to douse the ruins of Warding, and you had to take care of all 7 ruins in order to fight Majordomo Executus. You can't directly attack Executus, he makes you fight his minions, and when they're defeated, he'll submit.
Impossible. Stay your attack, mortals. I submit. Rashly, I've come to wrest the secrets of the living flame. You will soon regret the recklessness of your quest. I go now to summon the Lord whose house this is. Should you seek an audience with him, your paltry lives will surely be forfeit. Nevertheless, seek out his lair if you dare. that was ancient when this world was young. Bow before him, mortals. Bow before your end too soon. You have awakened me too soon, Executus. What is the meaning of this intrusion? These mortal infidels, my lord. They have invaded your sanctum and seek to steal your secrets. You allowed these insects to run rampant through the hollow core. Now you lead them to my very lair? You have failed me, Executus. Justice shall be met. Now for you, insects. Boldly usurp the power of Ragnarok. Now you shall see it.
Executus had summoned Ragnaros before he was able to fully recover, so what we faced that day in the Molten Core was just a fraction of his power.
Thy fire be purged! Taste the flames of Sulfuron!
We managed to defeat Ragnaros after collecting tons of fire resistance gear, but we didn't exactly kill him. We simply banished him back to the Firelands, but for that moment, Azeroth was safe. Part of the loot that Ragnaros can drop is the legendary Eye of Sulfuras. Combining this eye with a Sulfuron hammer created the legendary weapon Sulfuras Hand of Ragnaros. Mortals could never dream of wielding the original hammer, but by creating their own, they managed to harness the original power. There is another legendary weapon that you can get in the Molten Core by collecting the bindings that contain the essence of Thunderan. These bindings were given to Baron Geddon and Gar, and once you collected both bindings of the Windseeker, you could do the questline. This questline would eventually force you to fight with Prince Thunderan himself in order to get his mighty weapon, Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. Which means that poor Thunderan, after being nearly fully absorbed by Ragnaros and then imprisoned for who knows how long, that we released him only to finish him off and steal his weapon. To be fair, it is an amazing weapon. Several years passed, several expansions followed in which Ragnaros didn't play a part. That is, until the Cataclysm that shook the world to its core.
The world heaves with my torment.
The mighty Black Dragon Deathwing, former guardian of the Earth Neltharion, had been hiding and recovering within his lair in the elemental plane of Deepholm, the realm of Earth. When Deathwing broke free and started to attack, he shattered the world and it created a rift between our world and the elemental plane, allowing the elements to attack our realm once again. For those that don't know, Deathwing was crazy and he was driven crazy by the whispers of the old gods. By their order, he summoned Ragnaros back into our world and recruited him to their cause.
Is it too late? Deathwing's presence nearby.
By fire be purged!
The Fire Lord has risen! We must send word to the others! Let us hurry.
In the early years of Azeroth, the elements were enslaved to fight, but that doesn't mean that they were all against it. Ragnaros is a spirit of fire, chaotic by nature, and the promise to burn down the world was all it took to convince him to join. He and his minions attacked Mount Hyjal in an attempt to burn down the world tree Nordrassil. This is the same tree that they blew up back in Warcraft 3, and over the years the tree had healed itself. Now the Lord of Fire itself wanted to destroy it, so something had to be done. Heroes from all over Azeroth were put on the quest of stopping them. They, together with the Guardians of Hyjal, together with Malfurion Stormrage, Hamul Rune Totem, and even the Green Dragon aspect Ysera, teamed up to fight against these minions. They managed to close several portals leading into the Firelands. They brought back some of the ancient demigods of the world. Amongst them were Goldrin, Aviana, Tortola, and Cenarius himself. All of these powerful forces combined managed to push back Ragnarok's minions, and they even managed to banish Ragnaros out of Azeroth and back to the elemental plane, back into the Firelands.
We are ready, Cenarius. We shall face the Fire Lord and drive every ember of his being out of our realm. I shall call upon the chilling mountain winds to protect us from Ragnaros's flame. Fury of the hammer will shatter the Fire Lord's defenses, allowing us to force him back. Let us begin. It is only a matter of time before the Fire Lord becomes aware of our presence and comes to the Spire's defense.
Who dares defile the halls of living flame? I shall sear your essence from your flesh.
Quickly, everyone move into position! Force him back into the Firelands!
Face me, insect. I shall crush you firsthand.
All of our combined strength, but we have pushed Ragnaros back into the Fireland.
We must not let down our guard. It's only a matter of time before he regains his strength and returns to turn Nordrassil into ash.
We must confer with the leaders of the Horde and the Alliance. Ragnaros must be defeated in his home realm. Only then will he forever be vanquished.
Let us leave this place for now. We must return to the surface and restore the damage our enemies have caused.
This victory on its own was almost a miracle, but a faction called the Avengers of Hyjal wanted to do more. They wanted to take the fight into the realm of Ragnaros himself. He could never be killed in Azeroth, only banished to the Firelands, so in order to stop this threat once and for all, they would have to take the fight to his domain.
You've been at this for days, Goel.
The elements remain silent, Agra. How can I help them if they won't speak to me?
You must rest. Everyone has their limits.
Look around you. This world is dying. I can't have limits.
When will you see that you cannot carry this burden alone?
Great spirits, please speak to me. Show me what I must do. You called, little shaman. And the Fire Lord has answered. You and your kind thought that the fires of doom had been quenched. But I will show you the truth.
exist only to burn. The end comes, son of Durotan. The final hour of twilight. And there is nothing you can do to stop it.
Goel! I heard you call out. What's happened?
Fire, Agra. It's coming for us. Unstoppable. Unending rage.
Take heart, Goel. The end is not upon us yet.
Whatever comes, I know we will face it. Together.
Inside the Firelands and Salvaron Keep, we battled with some of the strongest minions and generals that Ragnaros' forces had to offer. For example, there was Lord Rhyolith, one of the most ancient elements in existence, born from the primordial fires that forged Azeroth itself.
I have slept undisturbed. Creatures of flesh, now you will burn!
Or Alice Razor, a former green dragon who betrayed her allies and helped free Archdruid Vendrel Stackhelm.
No! No! I didn't betray the Dragonflights! We were all betrayed! Ysera was lost in a dream while this whole world came undone!
As a reward, she was purified with fire and reborn as a Firehawk.
Who spirited me to freedom in Mount Hyjal. She too has been reborn. Born of flame! I wish I could watch her reduce your pitiful band to cinders, but I am needed elsewhere. Farewell! The sky is dark. The fire burns! Strive in vain as fate's will.
I serve a new master now! I belong to myself.
Speaking of Stackhelm, he had become Ragnaros' new majordomo and one of the first druids of the Flame. The small version of his story is that he lost his wife while she gave birth to his son. He lost his son in a war against the force of K'Fun, and he lost his mind as the Emerald Dream was corrupted, turned into the Emerald Nightmare by the old god N'Zoth. N'Zoth used Stackhelm in an attempt to kill Malfurion, but his plans failed and Stackhelm was imprisoned. Alice Razor helped Stackhelm escape from his prison, and Ragnaros recruited him into his army. Together, they did their very best to stop us from saving the world. They even split Thrall into the 4 elements, but in the end, they failed.
Do you think it will work, Goel? The druids and shaman uniting to restore the world tree? Would it actually heal this broken world?
The aspects believe it will, and they should know. They grew it in the first place.
Friends, we have gathered here today to heal this world that we've sacrificed so much to save. For the first time, the Earthen Ring and the Cenarian Circle will unite to restore this great tree, thereby healing the whole of Azeroth.
Time is precious, sister. Let us see to our ritual.
I'm sorry. Are we interrupting? The Twilight Hammer. Not so fast, son of Durotan. You and your allies have certainly set us back, but the hour of twilight cannot be averted! The Twilight Prophet knows that you, and you alone, are our final obstacle. He sent me to remove you from the game. I do not fear death. Death? Who said anything about death? No! You may be this world's greatest shaman, Thrall, but you are only mortal.
This is my master's curse upon you, turning your great bond with the elements into your undoing. Even now, the elements are tearing you apart, and they shall feed upon your doubts and fears till the last spark of life on this wretched world has been snuffed out.
Regret this, stranger?
Will I? Come, Shadow. Suddenly you recognize your former pupil?
Fandral, what have they done to you?
Naive as always, I see. Your pet orc cannot save you now, Fury. And the flame of our vengeance draws near. Be ready!
Fandral is corrupting fellow druids into something sinister. He may have other followers already. I must warn Moonglade.
But what of Goel?
He was the Earthen Ring's most powerful shaman, and the ceremony cannot continue without him. But we must be prepared to accept that he may be lost forever.
Beg for mercy now, and I may yet allow you to live. Well, heroes, what is your answer?
With all obstacles, all minions, all generals defeated, a bridge was created and the path was clear to Ragnaros himself. When you're about to defeat him, he will tell you that you've come too soon and he will try to escape from the battle.
You have come too soon.
On heroic mode only, Malfurion Stormrage, Amul Runetotem and Cenarius show up. They use their magic to solidify the lava around Ragnaros, cutting him off from any escape and forcing him to get on land.
No, fiend! Your time is now!
Outsiders, this is not your realm! When I finish this, your pathetic mortal world will burn with my vengeance!
With no possible way of escape, Ragnaros became twice as dangerous, but the heroes of Azeroth did manage to defeat the Fire Lord once and for all. Cenarius does warn us that the powers represented by Ragnaros, the element fire and all its raging power, can never truly be defeated. Another Fire Lord will rise one day, and so the defenders of Hyjal must always keep an eye on the Firelands to make sure that the fire stays in check. And that's the end of the story of Ragnaros. Like I said, the element of fire isn't going anywhere, but Ragnaros the Fire Lord should be completely gone from this world. I wonder if they'll ever announce a new Lord of Fire, and perhaps in the next expansion with all the Shaman lore, we might learn more about Draenor's elemental lords. I still remember raiding the Molten Core night after night, and the first time that we managed to bring him down with my little fire resistance trinket, it was epic, and Ragnaros himself was an epic fight and an epic boss. I think I've been going on for long enough now, so I hope you all enjoyed the story. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya! Hello everyone. A couple of you asked me about the aspects, especially what they're doing after the Cataclysm, and Dawn of the Aspects tells a little bit about this. Be warned though, if you still have plans to read the novel, there will be spoilers in this video, so please turn off the video and come back at a later time. Let's begin, shall we? Alrighty, the whole setup is that the four aspects, Alexstrasza, Ysera, Nosdormu and Kalik, come together at Wyrmrest Temple as they always do. However, since they fulfill their destiny, the older aspects don't see the point anymore.
For the dawning of the Age of Mortals has begun.
eventually receives his aspect powers, wants the group to stay together, but he fails to convince the others. They plan to split up the Wormest Accord with the next meeting. Cailleach flies over the bones of Galagrond, father of all dragons, and inside the bones he finds a strange artifact. This artifact unwillingly drags him into the mind of past Malygos. This has some nasty side effects on him, since the relic is not working as it should. Being so close to the corpse of Galagrond has corrupted the device. It takes control over Cailleach, forces him to transform between dragon and human, and it makes him fly around the world without him even knowing. Eventually, Jaina finds out about Cailleach's predicament and she tries to find a way of saving him. As I said, Cailleach enters past Malygos' mind, and with past Malygos, I mean Malygos before the aspects receive their powers. Malygos, the Proto-Drake. In this time, the Proto-Drakes are still very primal. Most can't think beyond eat, sleep and reproduce, but some are starting to evolve to a higher level. The future 5 aspects, Malygos, Alexstrasza, Ysera, Nosdormu and Neltharion, are of course amongst those Proto-Drakes already evolved. The problem that they're facing is in this time Galagrond all of a sudden is starting to hunt Proto-Drakes and is starting to hunt in their area. Galagrond is not a dragon, instead he's a mutated Proto-Drake. What happened was that he became so big that the food in his area couldn't sustain him anymore. To survive he started to eat his own kind, and that even amongst these primal Proto-Drakes was simply not done. This also had a weird side effect on him. On one part is that he pukes out his victims, and these victims become zombie drakes. They hunger for the flesh of their own kind, they have an attack, a breath attack that melts away flesh, and they can bite others to transport the disease, turning those into zombies. Another effect was that it transformed Galagrond even more, made him even bigger and even more hungry. Eventually he would become so hungry that he would start to eat the zombie drakes. Yes, the drakes that he already had devoured, he puked those out, they become zombie drakes, and then he would devour them once again because he was just so hungry. Thankfully, the second time that he puked them out, they wouldn't come back to life. Anyways, besides that disgusting little fact, he became a threat to the Proto-Drakes, so something had to be done. The first fight was Galagrond versus the United Proto-Drakes, and this was unique for that time. As I said, they were still very primal, but one Proto-Drake managed to get them to work together. The first attack failed of course, but thankfully the future aspects survived. The second fight was Galagrond versus Tyr and the future aspects. For those that missed out on my Titans and Old God video, Tyr was one of the keepers of Ulduar. He was not a Titan, but a Titan keeper. It is rumored that Tyr was the one who led the first humans who descended from the Vrykul away from Northrend and into the rest of the world. The location Tyr's hand, for example, is named after Tyr. This is all just speculation though, so let's focus on the facts. In the story, Tyr uses the artifact that Cailleach found, and he uses it to make a copy of the memories of the aspects. He then comes up with a plan to fight Galagrond together with the aspects, but they fail. Tyr's hand gets bitten off and both his hand and the artifact go inside the stomach of Galagrond. Round 3 was Galagrond versus the future aspects. Although Tyr had a very nice plan, it revolved around using his strengths instead of those of the future aspects. They get together and they come up with a plan that requires teamwork and makes the most use out of their individual strengths. Neltharion was physically very strong, Alexstrasza was born to be a leader, Malygos was already very smart, Nosdormu was punctual and had a great sense of timing, and Ysera was able to dream of things others would write off as impossible. They fight Galagrond, and with the use of their teamwork, they save the day. After that, Tyr and the other keepers ask them if they want to become guardians of the world in case something like Galagrond would ever happen again. This part was the whole reason why I was so interested in the story, but it's described very vaguely. I'll read a bit out of the book. Near them, 2 more hooded figures materialized, and them that's the Titan Keepers. The newcomers raised their hands. He also suddenly sensed that there was another greater presence acting through the Keepers. That presence being the true force bringing about the Proto-Dragon's coming transformations, the Titans. It is happening, the Blue Dragon thought. The Titans are the ones overseeing the transformation, the creation of the aspects. As they raised their hands, the figures also changed. They began to grow. Their hoods and cloaks fell away, revealing 4 giants akin in appearance to Tyr when he had fought Galagrond. The Keepers continued to swell in size and their bodies glowed with tremendous power. And that's where it ends. That's the complete description of how the dragons received their powers. I was so disappointed that this was all that we got. So Cailleach was just seeing this as he was in the mind of Malygos, and Jaina was trying to get him out of there, but he was torn apart between seeing this moment and following Jaina. And unfortunately he chooses to follow Jaina instead of actually witnessing how they received their powers. So yeah, it was kind of disappointing. Jaina saves the day, but she did not do it alone. As she is searching for an answer, she goes to the same place as Kayleigh went, and there she sees a vision of a Tonka who gives her the key to fixing the artifact. Kayleigh also saw this vision as he found the item, so it's heavily suggested that this vision is actually Tyr trying to help them. Throughout the story they also see glimmers of a hooded figure, which once again implies that Tyr is out there, somewhere. Like I said, Jaina manages to save Kayleigh and he decides to use the artifact as Tyr intended for it to be used. He brings the aspects together and he shows them the visions of their past. Tyr suspected that there would come a day where they would need a reminder of who they truly were before they became aspects. Even though they used up all of their aspect powers, they were already something before they got those powers, so they can be something again. It's just a matter of finding a new place in this world, and they decide not to disband the Wyrmrest Accord. And there you go, that's the short version of the story. Now there are a couple of lore things that I would like to summarize, just to make it clear. Galagrond is not the father of all dragons. The Titans are the ones who transform proto-drakes into dragons. They let this myth exist to avoid having to explain about how he ate all of his fellow drakes and just avoid that nasty history. To the question what will happen with the aspects, they used all of their aspect powers to defeat